Have you ever been at the gym, scrolling through your phone between sets, and noticed someone staring at themselves in the mirror? Flexing, not just checking their form, not adjusting their posture, but actively flexing their biceps, their ABFs, their shoulders, holding it, admiring it, maybe even taking a quick photo. Or maybe you've walked past someone on the street who catches their own reflection in a store window, and there it is, that quick arm flex, that chest puff, that momentary transformation from casual pedestrian to posed statue. And if you're like most people, you probably had a reaction. Maybe you rolled your eyes. Maybe you felt embarrassed for them. Maybe you felt a little annoyed. But here's what's interesting. That surface behavior, that public muscle flexing, isn't what you think it is. It's not just vanity. It's not just someone being self-absorbed or showing off. There's something much deeper happening. Something that reveals fundamental truths about how that person sees themselves, how they relate to the world, and what they're desperately trying to prove. It's tricky with me because by the end of this, you're going to see these people completely differently, and you might even recognize a version of yourself in what we uncover. So let's start with the obvious question. Why do people flex their muscles in public? The surface answer seems simple, right? They're proud of their body. They worked hard for those muscles. They want to show them off. End of story. But that's not the whole picture. Because here's the thing, most people who work hard on their physique don't feel the need to publicly flex. Most people can admire their progress privately. Most people can take pride in their body without needing to broadcast it to strangers. So when someone does need to flex in public, when they can't walk past a reflective surface without checking themselves, when they need to post that gym selfie with the perfect lighting, that behavior is revealing something specific. Something psychological, and it usually falls into one of four patterns. The first pattern is what psychologists call external validation seeking. For some people, flexing in public is about creating proof. Proof that they exist. Proof that they matter. Proof that they've accomplished something worth noticing. These are often people who grew up without consistent validation. Maybe their achievements were overlooked. Maybe their parents praised their siblings, but not them. Maybe they learned early that the only time people paid attention was when they had something impressive to show. And here's what happens. The body becomes a project. It becomes a thing they can control when everything else feels chaotic. It becomes their evidence of worth. But here's where it gets deep. The flexing isn't really about the muscles. It's about the response they're hoping to get. The double take from a stranger, the comment on the photo, the moment when someone says, "Wow, you're jacked." Because for just that moment, they feel seen, they feel valued, they feel like they matter. And that's not vanity. That's hunger. A deep, aching hunger to be noticed by a world that taught them they were invisible. The second pattern is about control and mastery. For others, the public flex is a victory pose. It's not about getting validation from other people. It's about proving something to themselves. These are often people who felt powerless at some point in their lives. Maybe they were bullied for being weak. Maybe they felt helpless during a difficult period. Maybe they grew up in an environment where they had no control over what happened to them, and the body becomes the battlefield. Where they finally won. Psychologists who study self-determination theory talk about this need for competence, this fundamental human drive to feel capable and effective. For these people, building muscle wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about reclaiming power. It was about transforming from someone things happen to into someone who makes things happen. The public flex is the moment they declare, "I did this. I transformed this. I am not the person I used to be." And here's what's interesting. When these people flex, they're often not even thinking about the audience. They're having a private moment of triumph in a public space. They're looking at their own reflection and seeing evidence of their strength, their discipline, their transformation. It's almost ritualistic. A reminder that they survived, that they changed, that they're no longer powerless. But here's where it gets more complex. The third pattern is about identity performance. For many people, flexing in public is about maintaining a character, an identity they've built, a role they're playing. Think about this. Our identities aren't just internal. They're social, they're performed, they're reinforced by how others see us and respond to us. When someone becomes known as the fit one, or the gym guy, or the one with the great body, that identity starts to feel necessary. It becomes who they are in the eyes of others. And if they stop performing it, who are they? This is where the psychology gets really interesting, because these people aren't just flexing to show off their muscles. They're flexing to maintain continuity with the version of themselves they've presented to the world. It's like an actor staying in character. The moment they stop performing that identity, they risk becoming unrecognizable, invisible, irrelevant. And here's the thing, this isn't about arrogance. This is about fear. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of losing the one thing that made them special. The fear that without the muscles, without the performance, there's nothing interesting left. Studies in social psychology show that when our identity becomes too closely tied to a single trait, whether it's our appearance, our job, our relationship status, we become desperate to protect that trait. Because losing it feels like losing ourselves. So the public flex becomes maintenance, a way of saying, I'm still that person. I haven't let it slip. I'm still worthy of your attention. And then there's the fourth pattern, the most revealing one. This is about compensating for invisible insecurity. Here's what most people don't realize. The people who flex the most publicly are often the ones who feel the most inadequate internally. And I don't mean they're insecure about their bodies. I mean they're insecure about everything else. For these people, the body is the shield. It's the thing they can point to when they feel uncertain about their intelligence, their personality, their social skills, their career, their relationships. It's the one area where they have something tangible, something measurable, something they can prove. And this is where it gets really deep. Psychologists call this phenomena compensatory consumption. It's when we overemphasize one area of our lives to make up for perceived deficiencies in another area. If someone feels socially awkward, building an impressive physique gives them a reason to be noticed even if they don't know what to say. If someone feels professionally unsuccessful, having visible muscles becomes evidence that they're disciplined and capable in something. If someone feels unlovable, looking physically attractive becomes their ticket to connection. The public flex, in this context, is a form of armor. It's a way of saying, you might not see my other qualities, but you can't ignore this. And here's what's heartbreaking about this pattern. The more they flex, the more they reinforce the belief that their worth is conditional, that they're only valuable when they're physically impressive, that without the muscles, they'd have nothing to offer. So they keep flexing, keep posting, keep checking their reflection, not because they love their body, but because they're terrified of being seen without it. Now, here's where it all comes together. All four of these patterns share something in common. They reveal a deep need to be witnessed, to be acknowledged, to have proof that they exist in a way that matters. And this isn't really about muscles at all. It's about the fundamental human fear that we're not enough, that will be overlooked, that we need something external, something visible, something impressive to justify our presence in the world. The person flexing in the gym. Mirror isn't just admiring their biceps. They're asking, do I matter yet? Am I finally worth noticing? The person posting the gym selfie isn't just sharing their progress. They're asking, will you validate me now? Will you see me now? And here's the most interesting part. The behavior doesn't actually solve the underlying problem, because external validation is like junk food for the soul. It feels good for a moment, but it doesn't nourish. It doesn't fill the real hunger. The person seeking validation will never get enough comments, enough compliments, enough stares to finally feel worthy, because the unworthiness isn't about their body. It's about their belief system. The person trying to reclaim power will keep flexing to remind themselves they're strong, but they'll never escape the memory of feeling weak, because the flex is a reaction to the trauma, not a resolution of it. The person performing their identity will keep maintaining the character, but they'll always fear what happens if they stop, because they haven't discovered who they are without the performance dot, and the person compensating for insecurity will keep building the shield, but they'll never feel safe, because the real vulnerability isn't their body. It's their belief that they need a shield at all. So when you see someone flexing in public, whether it's at the gym, in a photo, in a reflection, you're not seeing narcissism. You're seeing a coping mechanism. You're seeing someone trying to solve an internal problem with an external solution. And that's not weakness. That's human. Because here's the real question. What are you flexing? Maybe it's not your muscles. Maybe it's your job title, your relationship, your productivity, your intelligence, your appearance in a different way. We all have something we display publicly to prove we matter, something we hope will finally make us feel enough. And until we address the underlying belief, the one that says we're not inherently worthy, that we need to earn our place, that we're only valuable when we're impressive, we'll keep flexing. Keep performing. Keep seeking proof. The person at the gym flexing their biceps is just doing it more literally than most of us. So, which one are you? Are you seeking validation, constantly checking to see if people notice what you've built? Are you reclaiming power, using your achievements to prove you're no longer the person you used to be? Are you performing an identity, terrified of who you'd be without the role you've created? Or are you compensating, using one impressive thing to distract from all the areas where you feel inadequate? Think about it, because the answer reveals everything. The only question is whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously, and awareness. That's where real transformation begins.